Good evening. Welcome to the news at 4 on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ugbebo. The Trade Union Congress TUC has placed all its members on red alert over the dispute between Pegasan and Dangote Petroleum Refinery. Its Kano State Chairman, Comrade Mubarak Buba Yarima, revealed this in an exclusive interview with Daily Post. Yarima, who is also a former member of Pegasan, said TUC, the umbrella body of trade organizations, is prepared to join the strike if today's Abuja meeting between the federal government, Pegasan, and Dangote Refinery fails to produce a resolution. We have already placed our members on red alert. Once we receive a communique from Pegasan, we have made it clear we are standing by. You cannot trample on workers' rights and expect us to keep quiet, he stated. The rift in the oil sector deepened after Pegasan accused Dangote Refinery of dismissing hundreds of staff for joining the association, alleging that some of them were replaced with expatriates. The union described the move as victimization and a violation of constitutional rights. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Maigari Digiadi, has summoned both sides to an emergency meeting in Abuja today. Ministry spokesperson Patience Unoba said the minister appealed to Pegasan to reconsider his strike, warning of direct economic and security consequences. However, Yarima insisted Dangote must respect labor rights. We are not denying that Dangote has invested heavily, creating jobs, and we supported his efforts. But that does not excuse dismissing workers for joining a union. Total, Shell, and others have been here for decades, and they all have unions. So why is this different? He stressed that TUC's demand is simple: fairness. We are not asking for anything out of the ordinary or lobbying for money. We just want him to do the right thing and give those workers back their jobs, he said. In another development, rights group, the National Rebirth Movement, NRM, has vowed to mobilize Nigerians for nationwide protest against what is described as a dangerous plot by the federal government to amend the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, and sell off critical national assets. In a statement issued on Monday in Kaduna, Comrade James Jonah Budu, president of the movement, alleged that the finance minister, Wale Edun, was spearheading moves that would strip the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, of its backbone and hand over the country's oil wealth to cronies. The group alleged that these amendments are the handiwork of Wale Edun, who appears to think he will be in government forever. Nigerians must rise against this kind of individual mentality and the planned return of the Obasanjo Atiku era that sold off critical national assets. This time, they want to sell everything to their friends and render the NNPCL naked, Budu said. The NRM president said the movement will not fold its arms while government policies mortgage the nation's future, describing the PIA passed into law in 2021 after 2 decades of delay as one of the few reforms that provided a clear framework for the oil and gas sector. The group said it believes President Bola Tinubu may not be aware of the move to amend the PIA and sell off public assets. It's barely 4 years since the PIA came into effect, and instead of strengthening it, this government wants to dismantle its safeguards. A national oil company, which should be a source of pride and revenue for all Nigerians, is being targeted for stripping under the guise of reforms. We believe President Bola Tinubu may not be fully aware of the implications of this move, but Nigerians will not be passive while their future is auctioned, he said. Budu recalled how past privatizations failed to deliver value to citizens, saying they mainly enriched a few political connected businessmen. He warned that repeating that pattern in the oil sector would deepen poverty and unemployment. The Obasanjo Atiku era taught us bitter lessons. NEPA was sold, yet Nigerians are still in darkness. Refineries were left comatose while billions were spent on fuel imports. We will not allow another cycle of deception, he declared. Instead of amending the PIA to pave the way for asset sales, Budu urged the government to focus on transparency and accountability within the NNPCL. What Nigerians want is openness. We want to know the real figures, the contracts, the daily production, the inflows and outflows. That is what will build trust and efficiency. Selling off assets to friends of those in government will only deepen corruption and rob the country of future revenues, he added. The NRM leader said the group has begun consultations with civil society organizations, labor unions, student groups, and community leaders to resist the proposed changes. We are ready to lead Nigerians to the streets if necessary. This is not just about oil, it's about the survival of our Commonwealth. If they insist on amending the PIA to sell off our assets, we'll mobilize nationwide protest. Budu warned. In another news, migrants seeking to settle permanently in the UK will face significantly tougher rules under plan set to be unveiled by the Interior Minister on Monday. The proposed changes will require applicants to demonstrate self-sufficiency and social contribution. Specifically, migrants will now have to secure and hold a job, ensure they do not claim public benefits, and actively undertake community work to qualify for permanent residency. These overhaul signals a push to ensure that new permanent residents are economically active and integrated into their local communities. The new criteria will replace the existing less stringent pathways to permanent residency, which is formerly known as indefinite leave to remain. Currently, migrants can qualify for this status if they have family in Britain and have lived there for 5 years, or if they have lived legally in the UK for a total of 10 years on any type of valid visa without specific requirements for work or community engagement. But in a major policy shift, Interior Minister Shabana Mahmood was on Monday to announce that migrants will have to make social security contributions, claim no benefits, have a clean criminal record, and volunteer in their community in order to stay. Mahmood will outline the plans at the annual conference of the ruling Labour Party, and the government will consult on the changes later this year, according to a press release from the party. The announcement comes shortly after the opposition Hard Right Reform Party, which is currently leading in national polls, said it will get rid of indefinite leave to remain altogether, with migrants instead required to reapply for visas every 5 years. This would apply to the hundreds of thousands of people who have already attained leave to remain. These measures draw a clear dividing line between the Labour government and Reform, whose recent announcement will force workers who have been contributing to this country for decades to leave their homes and families, said the Labour Party statement. Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Sunday called Reform's plan racist, adding to tear the country apart. In her first speech to the Labour conference as Interior Minister, Mahmood will say that migrants should learn English to a high standard and that she will be a top minister. The federal government has declared Wednesday, October 1, 2025, a public holiday in celebration of Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary. The announcement was made on Monday by the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, through a statement signed by the ministry's permanent secretary, Dr. Magdalene Ajani. The minister congratulated Nigerians at home and abroad on the milestone, urging them to uphold the values of patriotism, unity, and resilience that have sustained the nation since independence in 1960. He also called on citizens to maintain confidence in President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, which he described as a framework for national rebirth, economic transformation, and shared prosperity. Expressing optimism about the nation's future, Tunji-Ojo said Nigeria will continue to advance in peace, progress, and development with the collective support of its people. The minister, on behalf of the federal government, wished Nigerians a joyful and memorable Independence Day celebration. That concludes the news at 4 on Leadership Television. For more, log in to www.leadership.ng. Thanks for joining us.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.